So Pete Buttigieg was asked about the problem of deindustrialization in the middle of the country and outsourcing and the destruction of these factory towns. And he gave a very long-winded answer that I think is terrible. Because there was actually zero policy substance proposed. So this is one of those answers where I think it tricks a lot of older Democrats, a lot of centrist Democrats, because he's got the smart guy aura about him. Like, ooh, he seems like he's saying very intelligent things. But listen closely, because in terms of actual solutions, he basically says nothing. He just talks for an extended period of time, restates the problem. Take a look, and then we'll discuss.
This is Christian Abney, a freshman at Harvard from your home state of Indiana. Christian.
All right, where are you from?
I'm from Kokomo, actually,
nice.
So pretty close to South Bend. Yeah. So I'm from a city very similar to yours, a small Midwestern town that's obviously been very affected by the post-industrial situation of the United States. In a 2017 interview with David Axelrod, you noted that NAFTA resulted in irreplaceable job losses across the Midwest. How would your administration negotiate trade and bring success to American industry?
Thanks for such a great question. As you know, this is close to my heart because it's close to my hometown. And, during the Chrysler partial shutdown and all the layoffs, Kokomo, what was happening in and around Howard County and Kokomo was an example of just how vulnerable our communities are in the industrial Midwest to policies and markets when it comes to manufacturing. So we need to find a way to make sure that trade actually works for us. There's no building a wall around the status quo. You can't put the horse back into the barn. It doesn't work that way. But what we do need to make sure of is that there are enough measures, including adjustment assistance, including making sure that we make whole in some way the people who were made worse off, that we're actually keeping the promise of trade. The promise that was made when I was growing up was that if we did these things, the rising tide would lift all boats, right? And we'd all be better off. And it turns out it didn't work that way. The rising tide rose. That part happened. It's just that a lot of the boats turned out to be anchored to the ocean floor. But we can make trade work for our communities. One of my favorite examples, actually, is a Union Auto Workers, UAW facility in St. Joseph County, where I live, that is making electric vehicles for a startup based in Silicon Valley, where the funds and a lot of the investment came from China. And before that, there was a 3-year contract where that facility was working for Mercedes, and they were making vehicles that are sold in the Asian market. So you got American union auto workers making German cars going to Chinese customers, and we're sending our products, not our jobs, to Asia. That's how I want it to work. Now, just one other thing I want to mention. As much legitimate concern as there is about trade and making sure we have fair trade that works for us in communities like where you and I come from, we got to be honest about the fact that for every job in manufacturing that has been lost as a consequence of trade, there's several more that have been lost as a result of technology and automation. And that's not going to change. That facility I was telling you about making electric vehicles, even though they're planning to make something on the order of 30 to 50,000 cars, does it with hundreds of workers, not thousands or tens of thousands, the way it used to work in the Studebaker days when South Bend was an automotive center. That part's not going to change. So manufacturing can continue to grow stronger in this country, but it's going to be less and less labor intensive, less and less human beings on the floor per dollar of output. And that's why we need policies that can get ahead of the economic shifts to come and recognize that our generation's not going to be able to count, as our parents' generation often did, on the idea of a single relationship with a single employer or a couple employers across the course of your entire career.
So he's telling us, well, don't expect to be with one employer and to have stability. You might have to jump from job to job. That's what it is. And we need to get policies that get ahead of what's coming. Yeah, but the question is, what are those policies? All you're doing is restating the problem. We want to know what you're going to do to try to fix it. He didn't say anything. He said, find a way to make sure trade works for us. Right, but how? What's your solution? How? What's your answer? What's the policy? He says, we need to make whole the people who are worse off. Again, yeah, we know, but how? What's the answer? Do you have an answer? And the one thing he gives is like, oh, I know of an example of China investing in us. So your answer is to have Chinese capital flow into the U.S.? I mean, dude, that's as bad of an answer as it gets. And what makes it even worse is it's such a bad answer, but some people, the political establishment, is going to go, yes, I like it very much. He made no direct promises, which means he won't deliver on anything specific. Yes. So how could he have answered it? Well, listen, there's so many directions he could have gone in. First and foremost, I mean, the basic answer here, the one that's staring him right in the face is, well, we're going to renegotiate NAFTA. We're going to renegotiate CAFTA. We're going to, change our relationship with the World Trade Organization. We're going to renegotiate permanent normal trade relations with China. Like, that's the basic. That's like the 101 entry level. Like, you have to at least say this. You have to at least say, no more shitty trade deals that will outsource more of our jobs, and we're going to look into and change the old trade deals. Now, Trump got rid of NAFTA, did NAFTA 2.0, but it's so similar to the old NAFTA that nothing got fucking accomplished. He's still a sellout to corporations like all the politicians before him. So, but again, he doesn't even say that. That's like the basic answer. That's anybody can give that answer. Oh my God, Jesus Christ. But then, if you really wanted to give a good answer, and I would have accepted just the entry-level shit, but no, he didn't even give that. He could have went the Bernie direction. Now, what did Bernie say? He just released an awesome ad where he was super specific. He says, oh, okay, GM wants to outsource more of the jobs? That's cute. How about we cancel all of your government contracts? You have a $400 million contract with the U.S. government. What if I took that away? And what if I told you the only way you're going to get this contract is if you keep the jobs here? How you like me now, bitch? That's the answer. Now, also, you go a step further. You do that, and you tie it in with a Buy America executive order. Right now, we have Buy America in place, but that includes all of our allies. So, in other words, the federal government has to buy from America, but that includes us and our allies. So they buy shit from Israel and all of our allies. And that's terrible because that means the jobs are not centered here. So what you do is you sign an executive order that says, no, Buy America means Buy America. Doesn't include our allies. It just means America. So the federal government had to buy all their products from America, okay? American-made companies that provide good-paying jobs here. And if you say, listen, if you outsource jobs, we cancel your contract immediately. Right there, you're incentivizing so much job creation in the U.S. and jobs to stay here. So all you need is solid policy to look out for workers. Another answer, mandate that half the boards of these companies has to be workers. Because then they're much less likely to outsource jobs because workers are fucking represented on the board. Easy answer. He doesn't fucking say it. God damn it. Also, you can find people who, companies who outsource. You can do, even Andrew Yang has an answer on this. He says UBI in our changing economy will help take the edge off for so many people. In Alaska, they already have a version of UBI and it's tied to oil production there. Why not have UBI and call it a freedom dividend and tied to technology around the country? You could do like Sherrod Brown likes, tax credits for U.S. products. So they have tax credits for U.S. Vehicles made here. So you save money if you go in that direction. That'll incentivize people to go in that direction, which will incentivize more job creation here. So there's so many answers, but he doesn't give any of them. He's an empty suit. And poor Bet on My Stork. He was the empty suit white guy lane, and now Buttigieg came and stole his thunder.